Welcome to the IS-ENES3 webinar on assess on CORDEX and CMIP6 climate data. My name is Janette Besseminder from the Dutch KNMI, and I'm organizing this webinar together with my colleague Rob Groenland and also with Christian Pagé from CERFACS and Paola Nassisi and Sandro Fiore from CMCC. IS-ENES stands for Infrastructure from the European Network for Earth System Modeling. It is a Horizon 2020 project, and it's now in its third phase, therefore IS-ENES3. The project is a collaboration between 22 European climate research institutions, and the project works especially on the development and sharing of model components, tools, model evaluation, data infrastructure standards for data and metadata. And why this webinar? Well, the IS-ENES3 project is part of the European part of the Earth System Grid Federation. It works on enhancing and improving current climate research infrastructure. We like to broaden the use of this infrastructure and the data that it gives access to. But this means that we also have to explain how it works to people that are not that familiar with it. This webinar is aimed at users in any scientific applied domain that need access to climate data. For example, climate modelers performing model and multi-model comparisons, impact researchers, or climate service providers at global or regional scales. This webinar was originally planned as a splinter meeting at the EGU, but due to COVID-19, we decided to convert it to a webinar. And that also makes it accessible to more people. So I think at the end it's a good decision. Okay, something about the setup of the webinar. First of all, Christian Pagé from CERFACS will give a general introduction to ESGF. After that, Paola Nassisi from the Italian CMCC will give a demonstration on how to assess and process the climate data with the help of two videos. And then after that, Christian Pagé will give a presentation on how to assess climate data with the Climate for Impact portal. If you have any questions, just post them through the Google Documents, preferably. And if that doesn't work, you can use the chat function. Okay, thank you. I'd like to introduce the first speaker, Christian Pagé. He's a research engineer and project manager at the French CERFACS Institute, and he has been involved in the earlier IS-ENES projects. Christian, the floor is to you. A moment, I mute all speakers and then Christian. Yes.
Yeah, welcome to this webinar. So I'm pleased to do the first presentation, which will be an overview on the ESGF. So I will share my screen so you can see the presentation. So I encourage you to put your question in the Google Doc, as Janette has said, if you have any question regarding my presentation. So this presentation is a practical overview for users to access data on the ESGF. So we can introduce this presentation by talking about why we do have this infrastructure to get the data. Why do we have this platform? We know that from recent reports, for example, the IPCC or national reports in different countries, those reports have indicated that climate change is accelerating, and this climate change has a really large impact on the economy, and it also produces severe weather events such as floods, wildfires, tornadoes, etc. And there are also health effects related to climate change. And there are also biodiversity problems related to the rapid change of the climate. So ESGF is a world data infrastructure. it has been put in place to support climate change research, and it plays an important role in predicting and mitigating effects on the Earth ecosystem. So we can summarize this ESGF platform in 4 main points. And it was originally developed to support CMIP5, which is the 5th coupled model anti-comparison project, in support to the 5th assessment report made by the IPCC. ESGF represents a multinational effort to share the climate data. It's an effort distributed among many countries, mostly located in Europe, in the US, and Asia and Australia. Now it has been in use for 10 years. There are 25,000 registered users. Also, there are other data sets being made available through the platform. Some specific energy model, observations, a large database of observation to support climate research, the CORDEX regional climate models, and also the European Space Agency Open Data Portal. So this is a view of the published data over the Federation. We have different projects, CMIP5, CMIP6, which is the newest anti-comparison project, the observations, the input data for climate model, and the CORDEX regional climate model. And there are really a large number of data sets with a large data volume. You can see here 5,000 terabytes for the CMIP5. It's really a huge data set. So for the new anti-comparison project, CMIP6, there's a specific page for that to access this data that is on ESGF. It has been open since June 2018. Right now, there are about 218 experiments coming from 37 institutions. There are 94 different climate models, and it is distributed using 30 data nodes in the Federation. And it is expected that the total data set will be around 18 petabytes. So this infrastructure is the first objective is really to support the CMIP experiments. The CMIP experiments is a collection of many different experiments to support different scientific questions. There's also the time planning of to perform those simulations, because it takes a long time to perform the simulation and do the post-processing of the data. And the availability of those data sets are coming gradually, are made available gradually. And in all those experiments, there are some core experiments and some smaller experiments where there are only a few institutions participating. Okay. What is important also about CMIP6 is that the different climate scenarios are based on the evolution of the greenhouse gas scenarios, and those are named differently from what it was in CMIP5 and also earlier in CMIP3. So now in CMIP6 we have SSPs. So those are based on the representative concentration pathways that were used in the CMIP5. And we have here this matrix with different shared socioeconomic pathways. We have sustainability, middle of the road, inequality, fossil fuel development. So in the experiment, not all of these have been done, only those colored squares, and the T1 are the most important ones. So you will have more climate data scenarios available for those scenarios and less for the tier 2. And also it depends on each institution and in which specific experiments they are participating. So this also affects which climate model is available in which SSP. Also, there's a large number of variables made available in the system. Sometimes it's difficult for users to be able to have enough information about those variables, and also some acronyms are being used to represent those variables. Those are standardized, and we have short names, long names, and description. And there's a website. You have the URL here, where you can query all this database of variables to query for specific things you are looking for that are important to you for your research and applications. And then you can use this search interface to find the variables that are relevant for you. Of course, it does not mean that it will be available in the climate scenarios you are interested in, but at least you can search those variables here. So the CMIP6 specific ESGF portal can be accessed, the main gateway can be accessed to this URL. And when you go to this URL, we have this page. So we have different facets. We call them facets to the left. And it's like a database. So those are fields like in the database. And then you can search using those filters and facets to find the data you are interested in. So there are global climate model data, but there's also regional climate model data. So those are made available to the CORDEX project. And a short overview of regional climate modeling is that it's really too expensive to run a global climate model with very high resolution, and this high resolution is necessary to do regional studies or to run hydrological models or for different applications. And the main objective of the CORDEX projects is to better understand relevant regional and local climate phenomena using high resolution climate model output. And the objective of the CORDEX was to produce a coordinated set of regional downscale projections and to evaluate and improve regional climate downscaling models and techniques using a framework, and also to support exchange and knowledge exchange and communication, and to support and inform the vulnerability, impact, and adaptation community called VIA. So this is the experiment framework for CORDEX. We have a model evaluation framework, a climate projection framework in different regions at high resolution. So it's mostly 50 kilometer, but in some region it can be as high as 10 kilometer. It's using the reanalysis boundary condition and some climate scenarios. Those are CMIP5 scenarios, but there are plans to do also experiments using the CMIP6 new scenarios. So there are 14 CORDEX domains covering all lands, area, and the Arctic. So different initiative or different regions to cover all the regions. And to access CORDEX data, you need to go to the CMIP5 ESGF data node. And when you go to this URL, you click on more search options. And then you are brought to this web page. And then in the project facet, you have the CORDEX data. The CORDEX is the main one, the first one. You have the number of data sets, which is quite high. And the CORDEX adjust is a bias corrected data. So we have much less simulations, but they are bias corrected. So this is the end of my